So I'm not very organized today. So we have everybody here on the commission. Great.
Wow.
And for the staff, I don't have my glasses on. We have Chrissy.
We can
Sorry.
we can
Let
announce
Spencer
Spencer do a roll call real fast, and you can announce everyone for the
Okay.
record. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not
Or
wearing my
staff.
glasses.
Yeah, staff present today is Planning Manager Hill, Principal Planner Sabdo, Senior Associate Planner Schmidt, and myself, Recording Secretary Argenbright.
Great, thank you.
Uh,
All right.
Cool.
So the
and
first.
for we can do a roll call as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
uh,
go ahead.
Commissioner Barlow,
Here.
Commissioner Collum,
Here.
Vice Chair Rodriguez,
Here.
Chair Rath,
Here.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Here.
Commissioner Pizell,
Here.
and Commissioner Smith-Crivello. That is
All right.
all here. Information on participating in this meeting and providing public comment, including remotely by Zoom or telephone, is on this meeting's agenda, which is online at monterey.gov/agendas. Remote commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak, and a timer will be shown on the screen. If you are connected on Zoom, the timer is accurate with no delay. In the chamber, we recommend keeping phones and devices muted to prevent audio interference with the meeting. Thank you for participating in your city government.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and we need any corrections for the minutes? Yes.
And I've mentioned this before. As I'm reading the minutes, I come to 2, and the action is approved as submitted. You know, it's kind of, we don't have a lot of information about discussions or the topic, and I know that is kind of a new routine from the city, just to have a formula, kind of a formula minutes and as brief as possible. But in general, it would just be nice to have a little more information on the minutes and decisions made.
And you're
That's
referring
my opinion. Yeah.
and you're referring specifically to item 2.
Well, not really the minutes, but
Yeah.
it just seems like when I read it, it doesn't say a lot about, in general, about what we discussed, or it, you know, I find them very brief and not very informative. And when I read them, I always think, well, I guess I should go back and get the agenda and then perhaps even make a lot of notes myself, so I know just what the information is. For me, it would be nice to have a little more information. It's a small point, but I like to keep making it, kind of hoping we sometimes get a little more information in the reports. Thank you for listening.
And I had one correction. It's a real minor grammatical correction. Under commissioner comments, under my comment, I was asked to update her, it says their hours, but it should be her hours. It's not a big deal. I actually read them. No.
Yeah, what's that? Sorry, what section was that? One more time.
Under where it says, Chair Rath asked to update their hours, it should be her hours.
Under item 3.
Yeah. And that's all. Anything else?
I'll motion that we accept the minutes.
Any second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. It's passed.
And sorry, that was with the correction.
The corrections.
With a correction.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right. So now is the time for general public comments. The public may speak to any item that is not on the agenda, and that is in the city of Monterey's subject matter jurisdiction. And is there anyone in the audience who would like to say anything that's not on the agenda? Okay, anyone online?
There are no attendees online with their hands raised.
Okay. So the first item to consider is 15 Del Monte Avenue, HP 250073, to remove the property from the downtown area context statement and reconnaissance survey. The applicant and property owner is Hillstrom Corin Leanne. Okay, I'm just reading this. Okay. So do we have a city presentation?
Yes, thank you. Hi, Chair Rath and Commissioners. My name is Christy Sabdo. I'm Principal Planner with the City of Monterey. Give me 1 second, please. Okay. So the property is at 15 Del Monte Avenue. A historic permit application was submitted to remove the property from the downtown area context statement and reconnaissance survey. The recommendation is that the Historic Preservation Commission adopt a resolution approving the application to remove 15 Del Monte Avenue from the downtown area context statement and reconnaissance survey. The site is located downtown in the downtown specific plan area. The general plan designation is medium density residential, and it's in the Old Town neighborhood. The residence was constructed between 1930 and 1935. It's a 671 square foot house, wood frame structure resting on a concrete foundation. Has a side gabled roof with plain verge board and open eaves, and is finished with composition shingles. There's a partial width porch along the front elevation with solid wood railing covered with a shed roof. The exterior walls are covered with sheets of plywood, except for the rear elevation, which is T111 siding. The original horizontal wood siding is visible around some of the window frames on this lower left-hand side. Fenestration is mixed and has clearly been altered over the years, where smaller windows have been inserted into larger window openings. The only building permit in the building file is for a re-roof in 1999. A wood frame single car garage with a flat roof is located to the west of the house. Half the lot is empty. Architectural historian Meg Clovis prepared an intensive survey as required to remove a property from the historic list. According to Ms. Clovis, the house is very modest with no decoration, in poor condition, and it represents a vernacular cottage as described in the Monterey downtown area context statement and reconnaissance survey. In order to be eligible for listing in the local, state, and national historic registers, properties must be significant under at least one of the following criteria. There's criteria A or 1, events, patterns, and trends. Then you have persons, design, construction, and information potential. And then also integrity. So in order to be eligible for listing in the local, state, or national historic register, a property must retain sufficient integrity to convey whatever historic significance it may possess. A property that has significant integrity will retain a majority of the character-defining features of the style of residence identified. In general, a property that has sufficient integrity will retain a majority of the 7 aspects of integrity. Integrity is defined as the ability of a property to convey its significance. Generally, integrity is only evaluated if a property has been determined to be significant. So reviewing National Criterion A or State Criterion 1, events, patterns, and trends. The house located at 15 Del Monte Avenue has no associations with either the sardine industry or the military in Monterey. It is not eligible for listing under these criterion. National Criterion B or State Criterion 2, person. James Cardinelli worked as a truck driver for the Eureka Dairy, and his wife worked at the Booth Fish Cannery. The couple moved to the house at 1950 Hellam Street by 1940, but divorced. James moved back to his father's house on Sobranas Alley. This house has been replaced by an apartment building because his former house, 15 Del Monte Avenue, was rented. The Cardinelli family continued to rent the house into the 1960s. No member of the Vincent Cardinelli family is listed as a significant person in the downtown area context statement and reconnaissance survey. The house located at 15 Del Monte Avenue is not eligible under this criterion, as neither James Vincent Cardinelli nor his father made any outstanding contributions to the community as an artist, merchant, or professional, or civic or community leader. National Criterion C or State Criterion 3, design construction. The house located at 15 Del Monte Avenue is a vernacular cottage and falls within this category, and therefore, according to the downtown area context statement, is not eligible under this criteria. 15 Del Monte Avenue is a very modest vernacular house that was constructed with simple materials. The residence does not embody the distinctive characteristics of a type, period, or method of construction. There is no record of any architect or master builder associated with the residence, and it does not possess high artistic values, express aesthetic ideals, or represent design concepts. 15 Del Monte Avenue is not eligible under this criterion. And then National Criterion D, State Criterion 4, 15 Del Monte Avenue is not eligible under Criterion D or 4 for information potential because there is no evidence in the historical record that the site or building may be likely to yield important information to prehistory or history. And again, because the house didn't achieve a level of significance under the 4 criteria, 7 aspects of integrity are generally not defined. And so integrity is only evaluated if a property has been determined to be significant, and 15 Del Monte Avenue does not meet any of those criteria at the federal, state, or local levels. Therefore, the property does not meet any of the national or state criteria. The intensive survey concludes the downtown historic context statement, the Monterey Historic Zoning Ordinance, and the historical record do not support the eligibility of 15 Del Monte Avenue for inclusion in Monterey's adopted survey list for H2 zoning. Therefore, the property is not eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places, the California Register of Historic Resources, or the Monterey Inventory of Historic Resources. The recommendation is that the Historic Preservation Commission adopt a resolution approving the application to remove 15 Del Monte Avenue from the downtown area context statement and reconnaissance survey. Staff is available for questions, and also the property owner is available. My understanding is Meg Clovis is not going to be in attendance.
Hey, do we have any questions for staff?
I have
Yeah.
one. So this is a vernacular, and that vernacular cottages, houses are not included in the downtown area context statement, but
They
in
are
other
just-
parts of the city, perhaps.
Yeah, it is a type in the downtown area context statement. It just doesn't have enough of the character defining features to make it significant.
Okay. Okay, so it is, so vernacular is included in the context statement, but this probably doesn't have enough integrity.
Right.
Would that be, okay.
Any other questions?
I have one.
Okay.
Just
Sure.
for my edification, and maybe it's a question for Meg, but we don't know when it was built, but we know that the couple divorced, moved back, moved here, moved there. Did they not used to apply for permits in the 30s or something? Or what's the 30 to 35?
That's a
range.
good question. And the intensive survey does say 1935, but I think I was taking that from her intensive survey here. It says built between 1930 and 1935. So maybe it was originally built in 1930, but then changes were made between that
Or
time,
permitted.
right?
It's usually a result of, like you said, not having permit records to indicate an exact year. It's usually a range that of when, based on usually looking at Sanborn maps. One map, it wasn't there. Following map, it was there. They don't do those maps every year, so it's probably showed up at some point in there.
And the records is because people didn't do it, or we had a catastrophic thing happen in the city and they burned down? Or-
Likely just wasn't required at the time. Permitting it's not uncommon for us to struggle in finding building permit records for structures of that age.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I have a question, but I don't know if you're the person that can answer it. It looked to me, and I did Google Earth, I have to admit, looking at the house from the street, that first of all, to see if the shed roof that came down, was that perhaps an original porch? I'm looking to see if what may have been changed. Maybe there was an added bathroom on the front. It looked like there were some pipes that went up from
Right.
the partial front. It was hard to tell, except for the window openings, and perhaps the siding, what may have changed over the years from the original house.
Yeah, I don't think Meg was even able to tell because there was only one building permit record, and that was for the re-roof. So I don't know that we have like a chronology of when certain parts of the house were constructed.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else for staff? Okay, would the applicant like to say something, make a presentation, or come up for, do we have questions for the applicant? Okay, so could you come up and we have a question for you?
Have you had the house a long time?
My father lived there until he died in 2000 or 2023. So I inherited the house. I've had it for a couple of years now.
And he lived there a long time?
Let's see. He moved there in 95,
It's
96.
pretty long. Well, I just want to say something about this house. If you live in Monterey, you can't help but notice this house because it really is a house from the past. And I wondered how, about its story and
Yeah.
that it was here so long, 95 years maybe, or something like that, 95 years. And it appears sometimes that a good windstorm could knock it down. It doesn't look
100%.
and it could be that it was put together little by little and somebody just didn't notice they were building a new house. They might have thought, is it a garage? Is it storage? What's happening? But, it finally, became a residence for the kids of this man who, their life didn't stay there and
Right.
they didn't stay married. But I'd like to say it's amazing. It's lasted so long and it was obviously not in good repair. But it's been kind of fun to see it over the years with sometimes boats in front of it, sometimes a variety of
Yeah,
things.
variety.
And I just wanted to say we knew something probably was going to happen sometime to that house. So I'm glad to meet the people that own it, and I wish you well with whatever
Thank you. I
You know,
appreciate that very much.
situation is going to happen to you.
All right, do we have any other questions for the applicant? No?
I
Okay.
was just wondering,
Hi.
do you have plans for the house? in the
You know, I'm not
future?
really sure what I'm going to do with it now, but I want to make sure I have my options open.
Right,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much. And do we have any public comments regarding this application?
There are no attendees online, but I will remind the public that information on how to participate remotely by Zoom or telephone is found at monterey.gov/agendas. If you are joining by telephone, dial *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. And there are still no attendees online.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to close the public comments and we can open this up for committee comments. Would anyone like to go first?
Start. Yeah, I agree that the house does not meet the criteria of the National or State Register. I don't have objection removing it from the registry.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have a
Go ahead.
when I look at some of these, and you know how I love vernacular, I try to strip away the old trash which has nothing to do on the building site, and the garages and all the crap that seems to surround some of these, and look at the building itself. And I see a building that's had a lot of additions, the plywood siding, the dodgy windows, and whatever's going on with the porch. So it doesn't seem to have integrity, even if we love modest people in Monterey, but this is maybe just a shack. And we have nice shacks down on Cannery Row that we preserve. So,
All right,
yeah.
anyone else have comment? Okay, do we have a motion?
I can.
Okay.
I'll move that we accept staff's recommendation to remove 15 Del Monte Avenue from the potentially historic. Yeah, I'm looking for the paragraph here. Yeah, to remove it from the downtown area. Yeah,
Contact statement. and
contact statement.
I will second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, ayes have it. Congratulations, you have been removed.
That is appealable to the Planning Commission with forms available online and in the planning office within 10 days.
Thank you. I forgot that part. All right,
Chair Rath, I need to recuse myself from this item.
the next one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
let me find the next one here. Okay. The next item is to consider 851 Cannery Row Historic Permit Application HP 250064 for exterior alterations, including next door and windows of the second level, and to adopt a historic preservation report. The applicant is Sean Capps, Wald, Runk, and Dost Architects, and the property owner is the Shake Family Trust of 2009. And do we have a staff report?
Yes, thank you, Chair. My name is Chris Schmidt. I'm a senior associate planner for the city of Monterey. And I've been working with the applicant on this project and actually had worked on it when this project was reviewed by the HBC years ago. And I'll go into a little bit of detail on that history. But to start, the staff's recommendation is that the HBC adopt a resolution approving the historic permit for alterations to the building, as well as adoption of a historic preservation report. And so just a little bit of background information about the subject property. It has a mixed use neighborhood general plan designation. It is zoned CR-H1. So that's our Cannery Row commercial district and our historic landmark overlay district. And it sits on a rather small substandard lot, a 3,000 square foot lot. So further background. So the H1 Historic Landmark Overlay District is the city's greatest protection district for historic resources. It's intended to identify and protect the most important historic resources in the city. In the case of this project, we're looking at the subject site contains what is known as the La Ida Cafe. It's a site that is associated with literary works of John Steinbeck, including Cannery Row. Projects of this same scope were approved in the past in 2008, 2012, and 2019, but the use permits expired and his associated historic permits because the residential use was never established. And after the 2019 use permit and historic permit were approved, the applicant was required to apply for a coastal development permit. The site is located within the coastal zone. And it took about 5 years for the Coastal Commission to give them a determination. So their permits did expire and we did require them to renew those permits. Moving on to the project description. So it is a conversion of a vacant second floor to one residential unit. The building itself has about 1,000 square foot footprint, 1,000 on both the first floor and the second floor. So it will be a 1,000 square foot residential unit. It's accessed from the rear. So there's a side access gate to the rear, and they have a separate staircase. So there's no internal access with the existing cafe that is at the first floor. There's no additional floor area proposed. There is existing storage that would be dedicated to the residential unit that doesn't require any changes. Parking is not required for this site, but they are proposing it at the Cannery Row garage. There is a requirement for a residential parking program. So even though the code says change of use in Cannery Row typically does not require additional parking, they do have to propose some sort of alternative. And in this case, parking at the nearby garage. And then, as I mentioned, the first floor would remain as that cafe use. It's the Ostino's Patisserie. And so here we see the floor plan. Like I said, there's nothing in the existing space now. And as I mentioned here, if you could imagine the storefront where my cursor is here, there's a side access gate where the resident would walk along the side of the building, up the staircase and into the unit here. There are some minimal changes proposed, replacement of the existing vinyl, non-historic vinyl windows at the front facade, replacing them with more compatible wood windows. They're double hung windows at both the front, the side, and then there are some changes at the rear as well. So there are a couple of openings proposed here, a new door. There's actually an opening at the building now at the rear that's been open for years now. And so they're proposing putting an actual, and it's like the same size as what's shown here, is just kind of open with plywood. And so they're proposing putting in a door, a new window, and then another new window at the bathroom. So in order to approve the historic permit, the HPC has to make two findings. The first being that that a historic preservation report is submitted along with the application, and it includes all the requirements, and that the project is consistent with the Secretary of Interior standards. So I'll go into detail what those specific findings entail. So the city's zoning ordinance section relating to historic properties includes a definition for historic preservation reports, as well as what's required as part of those. So it has to identify the Secretary of Interior standard treatment. In this case, it's rehabilitation. It has to include a written description of historic events. It discusses the building's 1919 construction, as well as its influence in Steinbeck's novels. It has to include the historic context period, which is from 1929 through 1942, and discuss its and give that specific context, again, its association with the novelist. Should also include the architectural history, including photos, drawings, changes, and alterations, as well as character defining features. And lastly, a program for preservation, how the site will be maintained moving forward. Staff did find that all of these were included. This was something that was, there have really been no updates to this project since it was first submitted. So it is the same generally report that was reviewed 5 years ago. And I have just a brief discussion of the Secretary's standards, going through each one relating to this project. If the commission wants to discuss the specifics, I can bring up slides on any specific standard, but I felt that it was okay to just keep it brief here. So moving on to standard 1, staff and the project historian was able to find that the property is consistent with standard 1. It will remain as it was historically used, and the new use does require minimal change. And if you are familiar with the history of this site, the second floor did have a bedroom. I don't know if it was always used to live in, but it had a bedroom, and I'll leave it at that. The first floor was a kind of a cafe, well, more like a bar, but so it will continue to be very similar to what had existed in its historic use. Standard number 2, the historic character will be retained. The project requires minimal changes to the rear and side elevations, and then the vinyl windows at the front will be replaced. Standard number 3, there are no conjectural features proposed, so the project is consistent with this standard. Number 4, there are no changes to features that have acquired significance. Number 5, existing features will be retained. Number 6, deteriorated features will be repaired. 7, any sort of cleaning will use the gentlest mean possible when the building is repainted. Typically, that's in the form of using like hand cleaning, dish soap, those types of things. Number 8, no soil disturbances proposed, so there are no impacts to archaeological resources. Number 9, the rear alterations are minimized and also compatible but different. And then the final standard, number 10, there's no addition, but if improvements are removed, the integrity of the building would be preserved. So with that, staff recommends approval of the project. We have the project architect here, Henry Runke. I'm available for questions. I'm sure Henry can give some history to this project as well. Thank you.
All right, Geraldine, do you have a question?
Yeah, I've actually been to this. I knew Kalisa. She was in the Civic Club, and she used to have opportunities for dance classes to perform upstairs. There was a bar. There was internal stairs to go up, and I was trying to look for those internal stairs, where they were and when they were removed. It's true they're not there now.
Correct. I don't,
First question.
I do recall seeing the history of those stairs, and they were, if I recall correctly, they were, if you're facing the front of the building, they were in the front left corner. And I don't remember the specific history as to when they were removed or why, but I have seen floor plans.
So I'm trying to kind of recap how we knew it when it was in operation, more or less. You know, it wasn't in all the phases of operation, but when it was a Calisis during the, the last 20, maybe 20 years ago, something like that. And there were stairs inside. So somehow stairs have been taken and put outside. There are stairs now
Correct.
outside.
Yes.
Okay, so that's happened. Was there a permit for that?
Yes, so there was a permit issued in the past associated with this conversion project to build. There's now actually a building in the rear that the business uses for storage. And so all of the work at the rear was permitted. But the unit itself was actually never constructed.
Okay, and when I look at the pictures on it's page 80, it looks really different from the design that we were just seeing, recently. I'm trying to kind of pull that together because I haven't been inside it. It looks like more like there's two rooms, or maybe I'm just not reading it too well because I'm not an architect. And I see stairs all over the place in this second floor, first floor, page 80. Does that look like what it looks like now?
I think it's packet page 80, right? Not,
Mhm.
yeah, packet page 80.
Yeah,
Correct.
packet page. I mean, it's, when I compare it to the other picture, it's just kind of
Right,
hard.
yeah. So this,
They look like two different buildings to me, but
yeah, that's
I'm not an
not the
architect.
current configuration of the existing building.
it's confusing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when you compare the other one that we saw in the early part of it, I don't know if I don't remember a division in the room and so would the back part on the first floor be the storage unit? It
No,
seems to
I think
extend.
that's a reference to a project that actually was never built. So the current condition doesn't reflect that floor plan. So I wouldn't refer to that. I think it was just kind of.
Okay, so that's not the existing, it
Correct.
says existing plans and the date at the bottom
It says
actually says
2007.
5/8/2025, which is, so it's confusing because it doesn't really say when that drawing was done.
It's part of Ken CV's report from 2007.
But it didn't look like that in 2007 either. And so perhaps Chris is right that it was an idea for a change, but it didn't happen.
Right, yeah, so you're looking at existing plans shows the configuration, it's not quite like that today. And it's the historian references to an older project that was never constructed in this configuration.
And when I'm just comparing, I can't even find the page number on this part, but well, so right now there are stairs, but the stairs are going to be rebuilt. Or are they going
No.
to use the same
No,
stairs?
let me share my graphics again. So the stairs here are existing. There's no proposed change to the stair. The building that was constructed at the rear, this is the rear of the building,
Mhm.
is existing. And you can see that with this bold outline of the building here. And so there's actually a space in between the historic building and the newer building. And in between that space is the staircase that goes up to a deck. And the deck would be the main access into the apartment. And then also access on the other side in the newer building where the storage would be.
And still on this, so does the deck touch the other building?
Yeah.
And that's an anchor for it, for the deck?
I don't know that it's an anchor for it, but
But
it is effectively attached to that
Okay,
building, I think.
okay, well, that helps a little bit, just to kind of, so we're really just talking about the window that's going to become a door. I mean, there were stairs, but there was no door. I'm having, so there
So-
were stairs, but no door.
So when this
Because you know,
building was
you see-
proposed, When this building at the rear was proposed, the residential unit was proposed at the same time. So I think it was anticipated that both would be completed around the same time, but the unit was never built. So I think that the deck and the access to the storage and the conversion of this building were all planned together. The actual interior was never actually built out.
Maybe that's what I was comparing the pictures and thinking of, when I see that other picture that showed the windows, and the changes from the window to the door, it makes sense you'd have a door at the top of the stairs to enter the building. So how have they entered the building? If there are no stairs from the lower floor and the top floor doesn't have a door?
Well, it was unused.
It was just closed off and nobody could enter that whole space?
Yeah, there's, like I said, there in the presentation, there was a hole kind of similar to this size that was covered basically, but I don't think it was accessed frequently.
Okay, because if they really wanted to check on something, they could pull off the barrier,
Right.
wood and get in if they had to. And for example, if there was, maybe a leak, or they were wondering if everything was all right or
Sure.
something. Thank you for, it was a little confusing when I was trying to understand it.
Okay, any other questions for staff?
I do. Is the building behind it considered part of the property? Or is
Yeah.
it a separate, it's the
It's
same?
on the same lot. Yeah,
Okay. Is it currently, it's just being used for storage?
it is currently being used for storage. Yeah.
Was there original plans for it to be anything else?
I think I recall reading in the historic report that it would be converted to a unit one day. I think today that's not part of this application, but I think the applicant is intending to convert it to a residential unit, an accessory dwelling unit in the future.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, would the applicant like to make a presentation or answer questions?
I'll keep it quick.
Okay,
My name's Henry Runke. I'm with Wald Runke and Dost Architects. As staff has mentioned, this is a project that we actually applied in 2019. We got a use permit, went through architectural review, went through Historic Preservation Committee. Everything was approved. We're really excited. The owner of the building was very motivated to keep moving forward. And then we were told, oh, by the way, you're in the coastal zone and you need to go to the Coastal Commission and they need to take a look at it and bless it before we can issue any permits. So we submitted it to Coastal Commission and they sat on it for 5 years. And the reason why they sat on it was because there was the hotel conversion idea for the American Tin Cannery. And they were using water credits to be able to offset the water use that was going to be for the hotel. So there was a big debate between the Coastal Commission and the Water Management District about how you calculate those water credits. And because we were doing something that counted water credits, and the Coastal Commission didn't want to create a precedence with us, and so they basically put us on hold until they sorted the American Tin Cannery project out, which happened, I don't know, about 6-8 months ago. And then all of a sudden, once that was resolved, we get a call from Coastal Commission saying, oh, we're ready to approve your project administratively. Now, unfortunately, 5 years went by and I called Kim Cole and I said, we're good. We're still good, right? And she said, yeah, I think you're still good. And then she did a little more research and said, no, you're not good. And so, and not only are we not good, we need to go back and get a use permit. We need to go back and get the historic preservation review again. So what you're seeing is a project that has not changed in the last 5 years. And we have an owner now that's ready to develop. And so he's ready to move forward with this. So the historic preservation review is actually the last piece of the puzzle so that we can move the process forward. So this was not, this delay was not because of anything the city did, nothing that the owner did. This is, I guess, maybe politics and the Coastal Commission. And unfortunately, this owner got caught in the middle. And we were hoping that because we were still moving forward in the process and still doing all the things that we could to keep the project moving forward, that we were okay, but we weren't. But I think after today, I'm hoping that we'll be okay. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm glad you're the same project um, manager and you know the history of it. That's helpful.
Up
So
to
this-
2019.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And we know the owner and we know his intention is good to keep the property preserved in a way that fits with the history and the use of it and the little cafe will still be there on the bottom and you know we understand that. It's the single story building, was it finished, you know, in 2019 or was it already there?
It was already there.
It was already there. So
Yeah.
it was never a part of this project.
Not a part of this project from 2019. Correct.
Okay, were the stairs and the landing or that deck there?
Yeah, when I was introduced to the project, when we did in 2019, the stairs, the landing, all of that was there. It looked like it was being prepared so that you could have an access. And I think that's why, as staff was mentioning, there was the one opening that used to be there and now it's kind of actually extended down and it's like plywooded where a door should go. That's where we're proposing our door for this project.
And really, we're just talking about the door and the windows in the
Correct.
back.
Yeah,
So-
there's no changes to the exterior other than what you see from the front. There's some windows that have vinyl windows. We're going to replace them with a wooden window. But otherwise, everything is the same. So we're actually making an improvement. And from the public's perspective, you'd have to go down the little alley and go in the back and look and, you know, that's private and it's got a limited access. So I don't see that as being anything that's
Mhm.
going to have any impact on Cannery Row
Well,
other than positive.
I was on the commission when we approved it before. It's just interesting to review it and think of the history and
Yeah,
so thanks for
Yeah.
being here today and taking your time to help us understand it.
thank you.
I have a question. The windows that you're talking about in the front, so you're making, I don't remember if it's 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 2 in the second floor. Are you doing anything to the windows on the lower level?
No, we're not touching the lower
Okay,
level.
all right. So that was my, all right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, question.
Yes, sir.
Just for information, the property has enough water credits for 2 units.
It's amazing how many water credits you can get from a brothel.
I thought it was just a bedroom.
The truth comes out. Okay.
I think the water credits are more related to the other uses that occurred after that time. So there was a lot of it was a public space that had a lot of intense use when it was working, and so those are the water credits we're working with.
I just have
Yes,
a comment. I went on upstairs there, maybe the first time it came before the commission, which was before it was open to a dance studio. And yes, it was a brothel. You came in at the top of the interior stairs and there was a hallway and little tiny rooms. I asked the owner, whoever was there, if I could come back and take photos, and she said yes, and I never did. I should have. I hope somebody took photos because it was classic. More than one bedroom though, but tiny.
You know what year?
I'm guessing the early 2000s. I came on the commission the first time in '98 when we were reviewing the Cannery Row, whatever the broad overlay is, the conservation district.
In the 2000s, they were doing dance presentations. It was a big open space.
Yeah, well, they
in the
must
early
have, well, and they were going to open up that space and turn it into probably an apartment then. And there was the stairs in the back. But I do remember the interior stairs, but I love the upstairs. I wish we could, I hope somebody took photos because it was pretty cool.
Yeah, just to add to that, Carol, in 2007, I met Melissa on those inner stairs doing her bills. She had them all over the stairs and everything, so it was, I know the stairs were there in
Yeah.
07
But
inside.
upstairs with the,
I couldn't go all the way 'cause she
yeah.
locked it. She was sitting on the stairs.
it's pretty cool.
All right, so let's go back to the questions and then we'll do comments, more comments if you have them. So any other questions?
No.
For the applicant? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was very good. So going to open it up to public comments. Are there any public comments?
There are no attendees online.
Okay, so I'll close the public comments. Okay, now we can go back to committee comments. Any others that you know, information?
Well, I read that that whole brothel experience closed decades earlier.
Well, I
because
didn't say it was an active brothel.
Yeah, I saw it as a dance presentation.
Yeah,
with
no, it
chairs
was
set
just
up.
rooms. There was no furniture.
I was gonna ask you offline.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
Keith covered that either.
Do we have a motion?
Sure. I'll move. I'll move that we support the city's recommendation for the improvements to the windows and the door. I can't find the page where it stated it, but
34,
34, thank you.
the bottom 34.
Yeah, that's. Okay, then, it's at the bottom of, okay, that we have, so I make the motion that we approve historic permit HP -25 should be something else there. Commission of the City of Monterey that it, 0064 for exterior alterations associated with the conversion of the second floor to a residential unit at the H-1 historic landmark building at 851 Cannery Row. An adoption of the historic preservation report is attached. And so I guess we don't have to make any recommendation about that. Just the first 3 lines of the statement.
Okay, is that good? Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion has been approved. And the result of the vote at the resolution may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 10 days, if anyone would like to do that.
Forms are available online and in the planning office.
Okay, thank you.
Should we invite Julie back or she?
Thank you very much. All right. Too many papers.
That's kind of cool, though. It kind of talks to the.
It was.
the rough and tumble.
Yeah, and
nature of
the
Canada.
same with
Yeah.
the top floor of the barn at the Cooper Malera Adobe.
Oh,
Had
seriously?
some remnants of when that was a brothel.
Mm.
Funny wallpaper on and they tore it all out when they
Yeah.
gussied it up. Yeah.
He left a ball with a.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
No, they have wedding events there.
We
brothel.
can't pretend it didn't happen.
I think it's not, it
Yeah.
doesn't
Okay,
seem like
okay,
it.
let's get back on the agenda.
We were just waiting for
Are
Julie
there-
to come back.
Yeah, she's back. Are there any committee comments that you would like to share? Any committee comments?
I always have something.
Caroline?
No, I thought they were 2 interesting proposals, to move forward with one that had been held up. We haven't had that before exactly in that way. And also, it was interesting that the other building lasted as long as it did. So, I think they were both interesting projects, and the city did a nice job preparing it. So thank you. So my report, I wanted to mention, because it'll happen before the next meeting. Every year, the first Saturday of June, we celebrate the Merienda, which is really the acknowledging the beginning of Monterey. And we always encourage the city to be involved with it, because it really celebrates the city, the military that came with the city people, and of course, Una Bracera, who came to establish the mission. And it combines all of those elements to just celebrate Monterey and how it began. So if you, I know a couple of people here planning to go, and it's sold out this year. It's sold out at the end of April. So next year, if you're interested in going, be sure to sign up in April. It's a wonderful celebration in a lovely park with trees and flowers and lots of piñatas behind the Pacific house. And it's really memorable. If you've never gone, you should go. And so next year, get your tickets early April and you'll have seats.
Can you remind us in
yeah.
early April?
Yeah.
Can you remind us in early April?
Or maybe
Yeah,
March.
we'll try. Usually we're thinking about 1 month ahead. This is the first time the reservations closed
Wow.
in April in a long time.
I have a question for the city on that. Does the city do anything to celebrate the birthday or is it all on,
What the city will do to help the Merienda, they may give us permit to pull up to unload some of the decorations. They may, there was some discussion of that at the meeting yesterday. We're hoping they do because they said they would, but sometimes the parking division doesn't get the word that somebody has said we could unload, and they're very diligent, as many of you know if you've had any experience with them. So we're hoping that we're able to unload some things there. The hostesses bring decorations and each table is decorated individually by the hostesses. So it's like little parties within a bigger party. They're pinatas from the trees. They're folkloric dancers, singers, a band. Usually Mike Murata, he's not coming this time, but Dennis, I can't think of his last name, plays the guitar, is coming. And it's going to be, it's always it starts around 11:15 and it's over at 3. Chris Shea does the food, which has really elevated it in the last about 5 years because we used to have ordinary food. Now we have great food. So think about it next year. And I'll try to remind people a couple months ahead so you can get tickets. If
And-
you enjoy Monterey's history, you'll love the
And
Merienda.
all the dignitaries that serve the food.
Oh,
the
that's fun too.
fanatics, the supervisors are there, mayor, of course, so, yeah, it's really.
But they serve your food as you go in the
Yes,
line.
And they
So
march
it's fun.
through afterwards, which is really cute too. The Italian, what's that Italian song? I can't remember, but waving their scarves or whatever they wear. around their neck,
Napkins.
The kerchief thing.
It's a napkin.
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
napkin, okay. Yeah, it's very festive.
Very festive, very festive.
All right, anything else? No? All right, how about informal staff reports?
Yeah, so currently nothing scheduled for our June 12th meeting at this point in time, but if that changes, we'll be sure to let this group know. Aside from that, aside from the event that Geraldine just mentioned, we do have a couple of other cultural or historical events coming up in the area, and we have the Walk of Remembrance honoring Monterey Bay's Chinese community that's happening on May 10th. And then we also have the Carmel Art Festival that's happening between May 16th and May 18th. And that is all that we have.
If you were interested in participating, where you would meet them for the walk?
Let me see here if I can get some information for you real fast.
Looks like it is Devendorf Park,
Yes.
Carmel Art Festival.
Yes, the trail of the walk runs from the museum to Hopkins Marine Station, the site of where the fishing village once stood. And yes, program will happen at Hopkins until approximately 3 p.m. There's a loop from museum to Hopkins and back, runs just under 2 miles round trip.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd just like to mention the library does a lot of wonderful programs too. I go like twice a week. And I think Brian's doing an excellent job and I have signed up and it's free for the Irish music on May 16th. They're doing there in the community room. So he really tries to get a lot of different that cooking. Gerald and I went to a cooking demo and he does a lot of variety. I think it's very good.
Yeah, a lot of really interesting events over there. I know you're there a lot. That's usually where I see you, Kathy.
A real newspaper.
All right, anything else? Okay, I am adjourning this meeting at 5:55, no, 4:55.